K&C Masterpiece right here on 105 through the Fan, and we're on the sidelines at practice. The Ian Rapoport, NFL Network extraordinaire reporter. Now, thanks for being on the show, and also, have you taken our intern, Derek Holland, under your wing?
I have more questions for Derek about baseball technique, how to teach my kids properly, how to get my oldest to throw properly. I'm more picking his brain than he's picking my brain.
If you're coaching your kids up to be in sports going forward, do you want them to be a quarterback and get all the money, or try to be a hitter and a pitcher to get all the money?
I leave all of the coaching to the actual experts. If you say like really, what's my wish? I want my kids to be punters, so they can play 15 years in the league.
Right.
Make about $3 million and never get injured.
Seriously, while everyone's talking about the devaluation of the running back market, I don't think people pay attention to how much punters actually get paid.
It's funny, talk about the valuation of the running back, and I get it, it's a big issue. And I personally want everyone to make as much money as humanly possible. So some of these running backs, knowing the production they have, I wish they made more. The center market is similar, unfortunately. It's kind of around the same numbers. It's not just running backs. It's you get paid what people value you at. And the problem with running backs is people say you can find them anywhere. That's actually not true. It's hard to find a good running back. But just because you're a first-round running back doesn't mean you're going to be this, and just because you're a seventh-round running back doesn't mean you're going to be that. It seems a little more, I guess, I don't know if random's the right word, but it seems a little more random than other positions.
I don't know what the outcome to it will be, but did you appreciate the effort that Austin Eckler put together to try to get the Zooms going? I don't know if anything's going to happen, but I appreciate that level of effort.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe not.
Well, I would say education is the most important thing. And when you have, a market that is, I would say, mostly free, the franchise tag is not free, but, it's basically a free market where the market decides what you're paid. There's not much you can do, if you disagree with the market, that's what it is. It's if there are players who enter free agency and wish they get paid more, I get it, but the market is what it is. And I think that's, education and understanding where the market is, and then if you have leverage, when to use your leverage, I think that's an important thing. And the other thing is, Austin Eckler is awesome, a great player, but he is part of the issue, because you can get an Austin Eckler who's undrafted and be one of your best players on your team sort of from anywhere. That's kind of part of the problem.
Have you heard anything, or what can you tell us, because I'm sure you've heard everything, about the market for Zeke, since obviously he's not at camp? That got referenced with Mike McCarthy.
I would say Zeke certainly has some opportunities. I know there's some teams interested. I think it's more about what's the money going to be. He's obviously not going to make in the $6 million range. He's 3 okay, he's 2 okay. Obviously, he's probably okay being a backup. That's kind of what it is. But I think at this point, when you get those veterans like Zeke, the money's not increasing unless you have an injury. So it makes sense for him just to wait and see if somebody needs you and has to pay.
Part of your job, obviously, plugged in as an insider, is bouncing around to different camps. I'm just curious if there's anything in particular you want to hear or you want to look for here at Cowboys camp.
The Cowboys are pretty boring this year, which is great. There's the Zack Martin holdout issue, which is, a thing, definitely a thing. But there's not a lot of drama. There's not a lot.
Which is rare for us.
It's great though. This is, the Cowboys are a really good, well-functioning organization with really good players and a lot of talent at all the key positions. So there's not a lot of controversy. They're just good, and I think this is kind of the way it should be when you get a really good, stable franchise.
Is it good with potential to be great? Because obviously our fan base, that's what we've been waiting 28 years for.
Well, yeah, and I think last year, I thought the Cowboys could go deep into the playoffs, and I would say this. It's basically the same team. I would say that it's the same thing. They, could they win the Super Bowl? Yeah, I think they could win the Super Bowl. They are a team that is as talented as any. The coaching staff is really good. I'm going to be intrigued to see the offense this year with Mike McCarthy calling plays. Does it get better? Does it not? How different does it look like? And I don't know if any of us are going to know until we're actually out there. Other than that, though, it's like they should be one of the really good teams in the NFL.
Garrett, did you hear what me and all the fans back in the Metroplex heard, that Ian just said we're going to win the Super Bowl?
Yes.
Is that what you took from that?
Yes, I got that, and I'm pretty excited to hear that for the Cowboys fan base. But on top of it, I'm curious, as somebody who's been around football for a while, you got somebody who's new to football getting to see this. What is something that I should be truly looking for when I'm here and stuff like this?
I mean, watching training camp is hard because it's not a game. And so the most fun for me, you watch a team and you say, oh, how does Dak look? Like, okay, he looks pretty good. Or you watch some of the receivers run, like, okay, that's good. The one-on-ones are the fun stuff. I don't know how helpful it is, but that's what I enjoy, is like DBs versus receivers or pass rush one-on-ones. And, no one's wearing pads now, so you can't really do it. But, like, that's the most enjoyable to me. And that's kind of where you can see, like, oh, like this young guy who I didn't really focus on, like, he's looking pretty good in one-on-ones. Like, maybe he's going to take a little bit of a leap. Like, those are the fun things to watch.
I know he was a high draft pick, but years ago we got to see Khalil Mack go one-on-one with Tyron Smith, and he blew past Tyron on the first play. Tyler was furious. He slammed his helmet on the ground and said, do it again. But in that moment, you were like, okay, so Khalil Mack's going to be great.
Yeah.
And that's just what you felt like in that moment, because you got to see that one-on-one.
On the next play, though, Tyron did put one.
He stuffed him. Yeah, absolutely stuffed him. When you see the Justin Herbert contract, if you're Joe Burrow, do you sit back and you're like, sweet?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there's a couple of things about it. It's a really nice deal, highest paid player in the NFL. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a 5-year deal. I'd say that's significant because all the other deals have been 5 years. So if Burrow wants a shorter deal, and everybody wants as short a deal as you can get. If Burrow wants a shorter deal, that argument became a little tougher. Not impossible, but a little tougher because there's more precedent for a 5-year deal. I think the money came in where it should. Burrow's obviously going to be over it. It's just a matter of how much over.
Sure. Is there a particular year that we're looking at for the salary cap to maybe explode again? Because I know for the longest time people thought it was going to be this year before COVID and everything.
I don't think it's ever going to explode, and I don't think they want it to. I actually don't think it's helpful if it just goes crazy, because then what you do is you spend crazy money, and then 2 years later you're like, why did I pay all these guys? And then it leads to bloated salaries, it leads to a bunch of veterans who should be on teams getting cut. There's actually some negative impact of just a crazy cap. I think it'll be smooth all the way. Like, it's gone up 8 to 12 million a year.
Yeah.
Like, I think we're going to keep seeing that.
Derek, is there anything else you want to ask your new mentor?
Yeah, he's taking me under his wing, and I love this. The one thing I was curious is, as a pitcher, I would want to watch the quarterbacks. Is there a certain position that you put more priority to when it comes to watching, I would say, spring training, I guess?
Training camp.
Yeah, I mean, I like watching the quarterbacks too. I'd say watching the quarterbacks throw and catch is always fun. Watching how fast everyone reacts is always kind of fun for me. It's not a position specific, but like you watch a secondary, like who moves first, who's following, who's got the quick reflexes, who can anticipate. Like there's all sorts of, if you really hyper focus, and training camp could be a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, it's just, and that's kind of one of the things, is it's actually hard because there is a lot to look for.
Ian, your thoughts on Chad Dukes? Thanks for being
That's
here.
an ender. Thanks a lot, Corey. I promise he's on our show, even though he's asking you questions like that. I promise he really is on our show.
Thank you.
Next time we'll kick him off. Thank you very much, good sir.
Guys.
I appreciate it very much.